In the quiet reaches of the galaxy, humanity had thrived for 4,000 years, not as conquerors but as careful stewards of peace, expanding their knowledge, technology, and colonies while maintaining harmony with alien civilizations. Junsu, a young but highly respected human fleet commander, had spent years studying the patterns of the stars and the subtle shifts in the movements of alien fleets, but even he could not remember a time when the galaxy was truly restless. The humans were known as calm, capable, and unshakable, and their reputation was not built on fear but on respect. Across the thriving capital city of Neo-Sol on Earth, Mikyung, a skilled diplomat with an unshakable calm, walked through the grand halls of the Galactic Council, her mind filled with schedules of meetings with representatives from the Olyari, the Vantari, and even the quiet but curious Zoltrians, who had long been observers rather than participants in galactic affairs. The council chambers were a mosaic of species, each uniquely adapted to the vacuum of space or to strange planetary climates, yet all gathered here under the assumption that humans, despite their growing technological advancements, would never wage war without reason. The corridors buzzed with translators and aides moving between discussions about trade agreements, scientific collaborations, and peaceful exploration missions, and humans, with their steady voices and polite manners, often served as the bridge between races who could not understand each other's customs or languages. Junsu watched from the bridge of the flagship, the Horizon Star, as distant fleets glimmered like stars against the black velvet of space. A routine patrol meant to maintain security along the outer sectors, areas that had always been considered quiet and mostly unthreatened. His co-pilot, Sobin, tapped the console softly, bringing up readings from several sectors near the Zoltrian border, and frowned slightly. "Sir, the sensor readings are unusual. Small ships moving in formations that don't match their previous patterns. Nothing aggressive yet, but there's a consistency I can't explain." Junsu nodded, leaning forward, his hands resting lightly on the edge of the command panel. He had learned early in his career to trust the subtle details, the things that other captains might dismiss as nothing. "Keep monitoring, Sobin," he said calmly. "We've trained for centuries to expect the unexpected. Let's see what unfolds." Meanwhile, on Earth, Mikyung prepared for another round of diplomatic briefings, unaware that the first hints of change were already spreading across the distant sectors. She adjusted her simple navy blue uniform, noting the slight tension among the alien delegates. Subtle shifts in posture, a brief hesitation before they spoke, signs humans were trained to read. Across the council chamber, the calm that had defined humanity for 4,000 years shattered in the span of a single night, though not in panic, but in quiet, disciplined alertness, as the first wave of Zoltrian attacks hit the outer colonies, striking without warning and without mercy. On the planet Hanul III, an agricultural world known for its sprawling fields and peaceful human settlements, Sun Mi, a young communications officer, noticed strange energy spikes on her monitors, bright pulses that moved faster than any natural phenomenon she had ever seen. She called over her colleague, Ming Qiu, a veteran of planetary security, who squinted at the readings, his hands resting calmly on the console. "Sun Mi, these are Zoltrian ships," he said without shouting, his voice steady even as the ground trembled from the distant explosions. The ships emerged from the void like shadows, sleek and dark, firing energy bolts that struck the colony's defensive stations, obliterating them with terrifying efficiency. Despite the chaos, the colonists were not in disarray. Evacuation protocols activated automatically, drones guided civilians to underground shelters, and every structure was reinforced to withstand initial bombardments. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers above, Junsu commanded the Horizon Star fleet from orbit, his expression calm as reports flooded in from multiple colonies simultaneously. "Sobin, coordinate the intercept units," he ordered, his hands moving with precision over the console. "Deploy the defense drones in formation delta, prepare the railguns for synchronized fire. Remember, they are fast, but our tactics are faster." Sobin nodded, eyes scanning multiple displays as holographic representations of the attacking Zoltrian ships moved across the command grid. Within moments, the human fleet was in motion, deploying waves of countermeasures that were invisible until they struck, tiny stealth ships slamming into Zoltrian frigates, energy nets ensnaring entire squadrons, and strategically timed railgun volleys shattering enemy formations. On Hanul 3, Sunmi and Minkyu directed local defense teams with calm authority, their voices steady over comms, guiding civilians and coordinating with orbiting fleet units. The Zoltrians are strong, Minkyu said, watching a nearby energy turret fire and destroy an incoming missile. But we are stronger because we think faster than they do. Across the galaxy, Mi-sun, a seasoned diplomat who had traveled to countless planets and negotiated treaties that had lasted for centuries, received urgent messages from her colleagues in the Galactic Council. Alien representatives were panicking, their fleets unprepared for the sudden betrayal. Yet she remained serene, reading reports carefully, her mind processing the situation with methodical efficiency. Prepare a full situation brief, she instructed her aides. We will not react with fear. We will act with strategy. On the distant ice world of Nunbit, Heian, a young fleet pilot, led a squadron of interceptors against a Zoltrian detachment attempting to breach the planet's orbital defenses. Her fingers danced across the controls, guiding her squadron with precision, anticipating enemy maneuvers before they were even executed. Explosions dotted the void, streaks of light cutting through the darkness as ships collided, but Heian remained unshaken. Her squadron mirrored her calm, moving as one, and soon, the Zoltrian force began to falter, their numbers diminishing as human tactics outpaced raw firepower. On Earth, Mikyung and Taehyun, a senior strategist in the Galactic Council, analyzed the growing map of attacks. Each strike, each anomaly was plotted and compared to historical Zoltrian movements. They underestimated us, Mikyung said softly, her eyes reflecting the holographic map. They expected panic, chaos, fear, but they will find only precision and patience. Taehyun nodded. We've survived for millennia because we do not flinch. Meanwhile, in the heart of Neo-Sol, Ji-woo, head of Interstellar Intelligence, coordinated with field agents and colony operatives, receiving streams of live footage from dozens of conflict zones. He watched civilians moving safely under human guidance, defense systems activating automatically, and fleets responding with calculated efficiency. Everything is proceeding as expected, he reported to Mikyung. Humans remain unshaken. On the devastated planet of Bile, young engineer Sukjin worked tirelessly in a mobile command center, rerouting energy to damaged shields and recalibrating orbital railguns. His hands moved with practiced speed, his mind focused entirely on the mission at hand. Each Zoltrian strike was met with a counterstrike, not with panic but with anticipation, each move calculated to inflict maximum damage while minimizing human loss. In the midst of battle, small teams of civilians organized by local leaders evacuated in perfect order, guided by communication signals and human logic that aliens could not predict. Even the Zoltrians began to notice that, despite the ferocity of their attacks, humans adapted instantly, their losses quickly replaced with new tactics, new formations, new defenses. On the horizon star, Junsu observed the unfolding chaos through multiple holographic displays. He saw fleets destroyed, rebuilt, and redeployed with precision that no alien race had ever achieved in the middle of a battle. Beside him, Sobin smiled faintly. They expected fear. They expected hesitation. But humans simply do what they must. In orbit around the moon colony of Huang, Mira, a young communications officer and Junsu's sister, coordinated emergency transmissions between scattered ground units and the fleet. Her calm voice reassured terrified colonists as she directed reinforcements to vulnerable areas. Stay calm, everyone, she said. Help is on the way. Trust in humanity's strength. Across multiple systems, human fleets moved like a single organism, each unit knowing its role, anticipating attacks, and responding with strategic brilliance. Alien allies, long accustomed to observing humans from a distance, could not understand the efficiency and composure displayed, and even the Zoltrians, confident in their strength, began to hesitate. They had underestimated not just human technology, but human instinct, ingenuity, and the ability to act decisively without emotion clouding judgment. On the war-torn surface of Aram, young pilot Minacio executed a daring maneuver, flanking a Zoltrian cruiser that had seemed invincible moments before. With precise calculation, She delivered a crippling blow, and the ship exploded in a silent, deadly fireball. Nearby, her squadron cheered quietly over comms, but there was no celebration beyond calm acknowledgement of the mission accomplished. Humanity had not only survived the first wave, they had proven their superiority in both planning and execution. As the night stretched across the galaxy, reports continued to pour in. Colonies saved, fleets repositioned, Zoltrian losses mounting. Junsu, Mikyung, Taehyun, and their teams worked tirelessly, not in fear but in focused determination, maintaining communication between the front lines and Earth, ensuring that every citizen and soldier knew their role and executed it with precision. Even in the chaos of war, human life was organized, protected, and guided, and the alien civilizations watching from a distance began to recognize a simple truth. Humans were not fragile, nor easily broken, and no amount of force could shake their resolve. On the planet Chong, young engineer Hyojin repaired critical systems in the middle of bombardment, coordinating with fleet officers to reroute power and reinforce defenses. His mind was clear, every action logical, every decision efficient, and even as explosions shook the ground, he remained calm. Above him, orbiting defense satellites fired in perfect sequence, intercepting enemy missiles before they could reach the surface. In distant command centers, Mikyung analyzed Zoltrian patterns, noting their errors and predicting their next moves. "They think chaos will work in their favor," she said softly, "but they have never faced humans at their best." Across countless colonies, humans fought not with panic, but with skill, strategy, and coordination, demonstrating a calm mastery that no alien fleet had ever encountered. As the first wave of Zoltrian attacks ended, the damage was undeniable, but the human response had been flawless, leaving survivors safe, fleets intact, and colonies prepared to rebuild. The Zoltrians, shocked by the unexpected efficiency and composure of humans, retreated for the moment. Their first attempt at conquest met with resistance they could not comprehend. On the horizon star, Junsu leaned back, his hands folded, surveying the aftermath through countless feeds. Beside him, Sobin allowed a small smile to form. They expected fear. What they found was humanity at its best. Far below, Mikyung prepared reports for the Galactic Council, not pleading for aid, but presenting facts. Humans had survived, humans had adapted, and humans had proven that even after 4,000 years of peace, when faced with war, they remained unshaken, calm, and more than capable of protecting themselves and those under their care. Across the galaxy, this quiet confidence radiated outward, a subtle yet undeniable signal to every civilization. Humanity was ready, humanity was resilient, and no act of aggression could break their calm or their resolve. And in that moment, the Zoltrians, who had believed themselves clever and unstoppable, realized the truth they had ignored for millennia. Humans were not to be underestimated, and even in war, humanity's strength was not in firepower alone, but in their minds, their instincts, and their unwavering courage. As the first shock of the Zoltrian attacks faded, humanity shifted seamlessly from defense to counterattack, and the galaxy watched in disbelief as human fleets, once assumed to be reactive, now moved with calculated precision, striking with speed and intelligence that no alien could anticipate. Junho, a young tactical officer aboard the flagship Horizon Star, coordinated the deployment of attack squadrons, his eyes scanning holographic displays as streams of Zoltrian signals flickered across his monitors. Sobin positioned the stealth interceptors near the Theta sector and synchronized the railgun salvo with the orbital bombardments. He ordered, his voice steady yet commanding, his calmness inspiring confidence in every officer around him. Sobin, his longtime colleague, nodded and issued commands through the fleet's communication channels, watching as human ships moved like a single organism, anticipating enemy maneuvers before they were even executed. On the planet Jayan, Hygiene, a fleet pilot known for her daring strategies, led a squadron of small but highly maneuverable ships through the Zoltrian lines, evading energy blasts with calculated precision and delivering crippling strikes to supply vessels, effectively cutting off the enemy's reinforcements. Her squadron mirrored her calm and focus, each pilot executing maneuvers with perfect timing, demonstrating a level of coordination that left even seasoned alien observers stunned. Meanwhile, On the colony of Nara, Minkyung and Sunwoo coordinated planetary defenses, rerouting energy to damaged shield arrays and preparing mobile artillery units for rapid deployment. Civilian evacuation continued seamlessly, guided by drones and human teams who had trained for this moment for decades. Every action, from repairs to counterattacks, was executed with calm authority, reinforcing the core strength of humanity, their ability to remain composed under pressure. Across the galaxy, Minkyung and Taehyun analyzed the unfolding battles, reviewing the latest reports and mapping enemy weaknesses. They believed speed and firepower would overwhelm us, Minkyung said softly, her finger tracing patterns on a holographic display. They didn't account for strategy, foresight, or patience. Humanity never flinches, even when chaos reigns. Taehyun nodded, noting the increasing Zoltrian disarray. Even their most seasoned commanders struggled to adapt to human tactics, which combined psychological insight with rapid adaptability, turning every move into an advantage. Far above, in orbit around Bile, Haein executed a daring maneuver, flanking a Zoltrian battle cruiser that had previously seemed untouchable. Her ship weaved through enemy fire with precision, and in coordination with orbital strike units, delivered a series of devastating blows. Each explosion was a demonstration of human ingenuity, turning limited resources into overwhelming effectiveness. In the command center on Earth, Jiwoo monitored fleets and colonies simultaneously, his eyes scanning hundreds of live feeds and sensor logs. Every move they make is anticipated, he reported to Minkyung. Every tactic countered. They underestimated us. Minkyung's calm smile betrayed no fear. They always do, she said. And they will continue to until they understand the full extent of human resilience. On the industrial planet of Chong, young engineer Sukjin worked tirelessly, recalibrating railgun systems and rerouting energy to orbital defense satellites. Despite the continuous attacks, his hands moved with methodical precision, his mind focused entirely on efficiency and success. Nearby, his teammate Hyojin directed ground defenses, guiding automated turrets to intercept incoming missiles and ensuring that civilian areas remained safe. On the battlefield in deep space, Hygene's squadron engaged a Zoltrian strike team attempting to breach human lines near the Solari cluster. Their movement was a dance of lethal precision, exploiting weaknesses in the enemy's formation, disabling warships without exposing themselves to counterattack, and retreating when necessary to maintain advantage. The Zoltrians, confident in their numerical superiority, began to falter, surprised by the humans' ability to adapt instantly, analyze patterns, and respond with creative strategies that turned the tide of engagements. In the midst of this, Junsu orchestrated a large-scale ambush, using decoy fleets and electronic countermeasures to lure a Zoltrian task force into a narrow corridor near a dense asteroid field. As the enemy followed, believing they had found an unprotected route, the humans activated concealed railgun arrays and coordinated fighter attacks from multiple angles. The Zoltrians were caught in a trap of their own overconfidence, and within minutes, several of their capital ships were destroyed while human losses were minimal. On the distant ice world of Nunbit, Haein's team intercepted supply lines that had attempted to reinforce the Zoltrian attack. With calculated strikes and minimal engagement, they disabled transports and energy carriers, leaving enemy front lines isolated and vulnerable. Meanwhile, MIRA, operating from the mobile command center in orbit around Huang, ensured that communication between scattered units remained flawless. Her calm voice guided fleets and planetary defenses, prioritizing targets, rerouting reinforcements, and maintaining morale across thousands of human personnel. On the surface, civilians watched with quiet awe as their defenders executed flawless maneuvers, proof that humanity's strength lay not in sheer numbers or alien-like abilities, but in intelligence, training, and discipline. In another sector, young pilot Min Seo executed a daring attack on a heavily armored Zoltrian cruiser, using unconventional tactics learned from simulations on Earth. She fired precision railgun bursts while coordinating with orbital bombardments, crippling the ship and forcing a retreat. Nearby, her squadron exchanged brief signals of acknowledgement, their calm focus unwavering despite the intensity of battle. On Neo Sol, Mikyung addressed the Galactic Council via secure communication, presenting the ongoing counteroffensive as a demonstration of human capability rather than vengeance. "Humanity responds when provoked," she said, her voice measured and steady. "But we do not act rashly. Every strike is calculated, every defense coordinated. This is the strength of our species, born from millennia of survival, learning, and adaptation." Across multiple systems, reports of human counterattacks continued to arrive, each more impressive than the last. Colonies protected, fleets deployed strategically, enemy supply lines cut, and Zoltrian losses mounting. In every engagement, humans displayed a combination of logic, creativity, and intuition that alien civilizations could not predict. Even the Zoltrians, who had believed themselves superior, began to show hesitation, unable to fully comprehend the level of coordination and calm exhibited by their human opponents. Back on Horizon Star, Junsu reviewed the battlefield holistically, coordinating movements across sectors with unmatched precision. "Sobin," he said quietly, "initiate Phase 2. Use the diversionary fleets to draw them into the nebula arc. Prepare orbital bombardments for maximum effect. They will not see us coming." Sobin nodded, adjusting fleet formations and calculating optimal timings. The quiet determination of humans resonated through every system, every colony, and every ship. Hygiene Squadron led the advance, clearing paths through the enemy lines, while Heiyin's teams cut off reinforcements. Minkyung and Sunwoo ensured planetary defenses remained operational and civilians safe, while Miare coordinated communications with flawless efficiency. Each action demonstrated the human ability to adapt under pressure, to think faster than the enemy, and to execute plans with precision born of centuries of practice and instinct. The Zoltrians, who had launched their attack expecting chaos and fear, instead encountered a species united, disciplined, and unshakable. Their strikes were anticipated, their formations countered, and their command structures disrupted by human ingenuity. For the first time, the galaxy witnessed humanity not just surviving war, but controlling it, orchestrating battles with artistry and strategy that left allies and enemies alike in awe. Even in the face of overwhelming force, humans remained calm, demonstrating that strength was not only measured in weapons, but in intelligence, coordination, and the unwavering courage to act decisively. As the counterattack unfolded across hundreds of systems simultaneously, the Zoltrians began to retreat, their initial confidence shattered by the humans' tactical brilliance. On Hanul 3, Sunmi and Mingqiu observed the aftermath of orbital strikes, noting the enemy's retreat while civilian evacuations continued smoothly. Hygiene Squadron returned to orbit, docking without incident, their reports full of successful engagements and minimal human losses. Across the galaxy, Mikyung compiled data and prepared reports for the Galactic Council, emphasizing not the destruction inflicted, but the lessons learned. Humanity was adaptable, disciplined, and unstoppable when their survival and the protection of their colonies were at stake. Junsu, standing on the bridge of Horizon Star, watched distant fleets and reflected on the day's events. Every engagement had tested humanity's ability to respond calmly, strategically, and effectively, and every test had been passed. The message sent was clear to the entire galaxy. Humanity did not flinch. Humanity did not panic. And humanity, when challenged, rose to meet threats with a calm, measured, and unshakable power that no alien could ever fully understand. The Zoltrians had assumed the first strike would cripple the humans, but what they encountered instead was an unbroken species, united across planets, fleets, and colonies, whose strength lay in their minds, instincts, and relentless courage. And as night fell across the galaxy, human fleets held the stars, unshaken, vigilant, and ready for whatever the next challenge might bring, proving once again that even after millennia of peace, when war came, humanity was more than prepared. It was unstoppable. As the Zoltrians retreated from the first wave of battles, the galaxy was left in a tense silence, the vacuum of space humming with the aftermath of explosions and the quiet movements of human fleets reorganizing for the next phase of engagement. And it was in this calm that humanity began to uncover the true motives behind the betrayal that had shattered 4,000 years of peace. Mikyung, reviewing intercepted communications and sensor logs in the orbiting command station above Neo-Sol, noted unusual patterns in Zoltrian transmissions that hinted at fear rather than aggression, and she realized that their sudden attack was not merely a quest for conquest, but a desperate attempt to eliminate what they perceived as a threat to their supremacy. Junsu, coordinating with fleets across multiple sectors, discussed these findings with Sobin and Taehyun, analyzing the strategic implications. "They're attacking because they fear us?" Junsu said quietly, his calm voice reflecting both determination and understanding. "They believe humans are unpredictable, too strong, too clever to remain a passive ally, and that fear has driven them to make a terrible mistake." Sobin nodded, eyes scanning live feeds of retreating Zoltrian ships and damaged battle cruisers. "Then we need to make it clear that humans are not just strong but disciplined, that our response is measured, precise, and unstoppable." Across the human colonies, the news spread with careful discretion. Leaders like Hygiene, Haein, and Mineseo worked with local defense teams to fortify positions, ensuring that civilians remained safe while demonstrating to the Zoltrians that humanity's strength lay not only in their fleet power, but in their ability to protect life while executing flawless strategy. On the research planet of Chong, Sunwoo and Sukjin analyzed Zoltrian technology captured during retreats, discovering that much of their fleet was designed for intimidation, relying on sheer size and energy output rather than tactical adaptability. This insight fueled human counter-strategies, allowing Hygiene and her squadron to plan ambushes that targeted critical systems while avoiding unnecessary destruction, showcasing the human balance of power and morality. Meanwhile, MIRA managed communications between scattered units, ensuring that intelligence from colonies, fleet commanders, and intelligence officers like Ji-woo was integrated into a comprehensive overview of the conflict. She noted with quiet satisfaction that human operations were not just reactive. They were proactive, predictive, and precise. "The Zoltrians believe fear will give them control," she said to her team, her calm voice carrying across the command channel. "They underestimate the human mind and heart. Their attack is failing not because of luck, but because humans never lose sight of what matters: strategy, people, and purpose." In orbital battles near Aram and Nara, Haein led combined fleets in coordinated strikes that dismantled remaining Zoltrian forces attempting to regroup. Using advanced human algorithms to predict enemy maneuvers, they targeted supply lines, disabled weapon systems, and neutralized command ships with minimal casualties, proving that even when outnumbered, humans could act with surgical precision. Young pilot Mineseo executed daring flanking maneuvers, working in perfect synchronization with orbital artillery, demonstrating the human ability to integrate technology, intelligence, and instinct in ways the Zoltrians had never experienced. On Earth, Meekyung prepared a message for the Galactic Council, emphasizing not only the tactical victories but the lessons learned from the Zoltrians' actions. That fear could drive even the most powerful civilizations to rash decisions, but that humans, through discipline and calm, could convert threat into opportunity. "We do not seek vengeance," she said in her report, "but we will act decisively to ensure that no species underestimates humanity again. Our strength is in our composure, our strategy, and our unwavering resolve to protect life and order across the galaxy." In the colonies, Hygiene, Haein, Sunwoo, and Sukjin worked side by side with local leaders to repair infrastructure, reinforce defenses, and maintain morale. Their calm presence reassured citizens, demonstrating that even in the midst of conflict, humans could manage chaos with order, ensuring survival without panic. In remote sectors, Junsu and Sobin orchestrated long-range strategies that predicted Zoltrian responses to human countermeasures. Using captured intelligence and historical behavioral patterns, they anticipated potential ambushes, prepared counter-ambushes, and moved fleets in ways that created the illusion of overwhelming numbers, further disorienting the Zoltrians and highlighting humanity's mastery of psychological and strategic warfare. Meanwhile, in the communication hubs orbiting Huang, MIRA coordinated secure channels for all colonies, fleet units, and intelligence teams, ensuring that every report, observation, and analysis contributed to the collective understanding of the conflict. Her calm voice guided teams through high-pressure situations, emphasizing logic and patience over rash action. On the devastated surface of Bile, young engineer Hyojin directed repair teams working on orbital railgun arrays, rerouting energy to stabilize shields while civilian evacuation teams ensured that every person was moved to safety with minimal risk. The Zoltrians, who had expected chaos and panic to follow their first attacks, encountered instead a civilization acting with flawless efficiency, protecting its people while neutralizing threats, and their initial perception of human fragility crumbled with every calculated maneuver. Across multiple sectors, the pattern was clear. Humanity's response was not fueled by anger or desperation, but by calm intelligence, strategic foresight, and unyielding discipline. Even in the face of superior numbers, humans outmaneuvered their enemies, capitalizing on weaknesses and turning fear into opportunity. Tae-hyun, analyzing battlefield data, noted that every Zoltrian attack had been anticipated, every tactical choice countered, and every vulnerable target reinforced before it could be exploited. They assumed we would flinch, he said quietly. But humans never flinch. Not in fear, not in chaos, and not in war. On Hanul 3, Sunmi coordinated with planetary defense units, ensuring that civilian zones were protected while tactical strikes disabled Zoltrian reinforcements. Her calm demeanor inspired her team, and even in the face of relentless attacks, they executed their missions with precision. Nearby, Minkyung led a team repairing damaged communications arrays, maintaining uninterrupted lines between fleets and colonies. On the front lines, Hygiene Squadron engaged retreating Zoltrian forces, using precise attacks to disable engines and communications, forcing their ships into predictable patterns and ensuring no further surprise attacks. In every engagement, humans displayed not only tactical brilliance but moral judgment, minimizing unnecessary destruction while neutralizing threats efficiently. On Earth, Mikyung and Jiwoo reviewed patterns from multiple colonies, compiling comprehensive strategies for future defense and potential negotiations. They realized that the Zoltrians' fear stemmed from a lack of understanding of human adaptability and resilience, a misjudgment that could be leveraged in upcoming encounters. Junsu coordinated with fleet commanders across the galaxy, adjusting formations and patrols to maintain pressure while avoiding unnecessary escalation. Every maneuver reinforced humanity's central strength: unshakable calm, unparalleled strategy, and an unbreakable commitment to protecting their people. In orbital command centers, MIRA oversaw the redeployment of fleet units, ensuring readiness for both defense and strategic strikes. Every decision was measured, every resource allocated with foresight, and every operation executed flawlessly. On the industrial planet of Chong, Sunwoo and Sukjin shared insights with other engineers, optimizing railgun firing sequences and energy distribution to enhance both defensive and offensive capabilities. Their work reflected the human ability to innovate under pressure, using intelligence and creativity to turn limited resources into overwhelming advantage. Across the galaxy, human victories continued to mount. Colonies were secured, fleets reorganized, and enemy forces forced to retreat or surrender strategically. The Zoltrians, initially confident in their numerical and technological superiority, found themselves consistently outmatched not by brute strength, but by the human mind, coordination, and composure. Hygiene and Heian returned from a joint strike operation, reporting minimal casualties and significant enemy losses. They expected panic, Hygiene said, her voice calm. But they found strategy, preparation, and precision. That is why they are retreating. Minesio added, they do not understand that humans do not act out of fear, and that our strength grows from unity and logic. On Neosol, Mikyung prepared a final report for the Galactic Council, emphasizing that humanity's triumph was not a matter of weapons alone, but of intellect, planning, and moral discipline. The Zoltrians attacked out of fear, but it is humanity's wisdom and composure that will define this conflict, she said. We act not in anger, but in principle, protecting life while demonstrating our capabilities. This is what it means to be human. As night fell across the galaxy, human fleets held strategic positions, orbital defenses remained operational, and colonies began rebuilding with quiet efficiency. The Zoltrians, who had once believed they could intimidate or destroy humanity, had learned a stark lesson. Humans were not only resilient and intelligent, but disciplined, coordinated, and unshakable in their resolve. Every victory, every strategic maneuver, and every calm decision reinforced the simple truth that humanity's strength was not in aggression alone, but in their ability to act decisively, intelligently, and morally, even when faced with an enemy who had underestimated them completely. And in the silence following the battles, as humans tended to their people, rebuilt defenses, and prepared for what might come next, one truth became evident to all watching civilizations. Even in the face of fear, aggression, and betrayal, humanity remained unshaken, calm, and overwhelmingly powerful in ways that no alien intelligence could fully comprehend. The galaxy held its breath as the final phase of humanity's counteroffensive began, and Junsu, standing on the bridge of the Horizon Star, watched the stars with calm determination, knowing that every fleet under his command, every colony he had helped secure, was ready to act with precision and unity that no alien force could break. Across the systems, Hygiene led her squadron through asteroid fields and nebula clouds, using the terrain to mask human movements while simultaneously striking Zoltrian convoys that attempted to regroup, and her skill and confidence inspired every pilot who followed her commands, from young Minesio weaving between energy blasts with deadly accuracy, to Heian coordinating orbital bombardments that destroyed enemy supply lines without harming civilian sectors, demonstrating the perfect balance between lethal efficiency and careful protection of life. On Neo Sol, Mikyung and Taehyun analyzed the strategic landscape, noting that the Zoltrians, frustrated by the humans' calm and adaptability, had begun making mistakes in judgment, leaving gaps in their formations that could be exploited. She calmly prepared directives for planetary leaders like Sunmi and Minkyung, ensuring that colonies maintained high morale while contributing to the overall human strategy, reinforcing defensive grids, and coordinating local fleet units with orbital commands to create a seamless network of support that covered every inhabited system. Far above Bile, Sukjin and Hyojin worked tirelessly in orbital engineering platforms, repairing and enhancing railgun batteries, redirecting energy through reinforced conduits, and ensuring that every strike could be executed with maximum precision and minimal risk. Their fingers moving with practiced ease while explosions occasionally shook their platforms, yet neither flinched nor faltered, demonstrating the unshakable resolve that defined humanity in war. Mira, coordinating communications from Huang, ensured that every human unit, whether stationed on a distant ice world or piloting the most advanced fighter in deep space, received real-time intelligence updates, strategic adjustments, and reinforcement schedules, her calm voice a beacon in the chaos of conflict, guiding both civilians and soldiers with equal care and precision. Across the front lines, Hygiene's squadron executed synchronized strikes with orbital units, cutting through Zoltrian lines with a combination of human ingenuity, predictive algorithms, and instinct honed over countless simulations. Every enemy ship disabled or destroyed reinforced the message that humans did not simply fight. They dominated through strategy, foresight, and unity. On Jaean, Minkyung and Sunwoo oversaw repairs to civilian infrastructure while directing defensive batteries that had withstood previous attacks, ensuring that every citizen remained safe while contributing to the larger war effort, demonstrating humanity's unique ability to integrate defense, civilian protection, and offensive action into a single, coherent system of resilience. Meanwhile, Junsu orchestrated a grand maneuver, using decoy fleets to lure the remaining Zoltrian forces into a narrow corridor near the Nebula Arc. He coordinated with orbital railguns, stealth interceptors, and planetary artillery to create a deadly crossfire, a trap that exploited enemy overconfidence and their lack of understanding of human strategy. Heian led the first wave of this ambush, her squadron striking with surgical precision while avoiding unnecessary destruction, and Minesio executed flanking maneuvers that cut off retreat paths, ensuring that enemy vessels were neutralized efficiently and decisively. On the research world of Chong, Sukjin and Sunwoo deployed drones to disrupt Zoltrian sensors and communication, while Mira coordinated with intelligence officers like Jiwoo to relay critical updates to frontline commanders, ensuring that every action in the ambush was perfectly timed and every human unit was informed of the enemy's movements in real time. The Zoltrians, caught by surprise and overwhelmed by the coordination of human forces, attempted desperate maneuvers, but each move was anticipated, countered, and exploited by the humans' superior strategy. Even their elite strike teams, previously considered untouchable, found themselves trapped or destroyed, unable to understand the precise timing, planning, and calm execution that humans had mastered. On Hanul III, Sunmi and Mingqiang observed the destruction of retreating Zoltrian forces, coordinating remaining defensive operations while ensuring that evacuation protocols were completed without a single casualty. Their calm efficiency a testament to humanity's discipline in the face of overwhelming threat. Across the galaxy, Mingqiang, Taehyun, and Jiwoo compiled reports of Zoltrian losses, predicting the enemy's next attempts at regrouping while advising fleet commanders to maintain pressure and anticipate every conceivable tactic. Their calm authority radiated through communication channels, instilling confidence and clarity in every human unit from the smallest colony defense team to the largest capital ship fleet. In deep space, Hygiene Squadron executed the final strikes on Zoltrian command ships, their movements coordinated with orbital bombardments and railgun volleys. Each attack calculated to disable critical systems while minimizing collateral damage, and the remaining Zoltrian vessels, seeing the futility of continued resistance, began to retreat with haste and disarray, a spectacle that reinforced humanity's mastery of both strategy and moral judgment. On Neo Sol, Mingqiang prepared a message for the Galactic Council, highlighting not only the tactical victories but also the underlying lesson. Humanity's strength was not solely in technology or numbers, but in discipline, intelligence, moral judgment, and the ability to act calmly under pressure, turning potential chaos into decisive advantage, and sending a clear message to every civilization that humans were a species to be respected, not underestimated. Jun-Su, observing the retreat through the bridge's panoramic displays, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, knowing that the culmination of human strategy, courage, and unity had forced a full-scale enemy withdrawal. Sobin, standing beside him, noted quietly, "They attacked expecting fear. What they found was humans at our very best." Far below, in the colonies, Hygiene, Heian, Min-Seo, Sunmi, Mingqiang, Sukjin, and Hyojin coordinated cleanup operations, repair work, and the final evacuation of vulnerable zones, demonstrating that humanity's triumph was measured not only in destruction inflicted on the enemy but in life preserved, order restored, and hope maintained. Even as the Zoltrians retreated beyond human sensor range, the calm, disciplined, and coordinated human presence ensured that no surprise could threaten their people, and that the memory of the first assaults would serve only as a lesson in caution and respect for the humans they had sought to destroy. Across the galaxy, communications relayed by MIRA confirmed that colonies, fleets, and civilians remained safe, operational, and ready for any subsequent challenge, proving that humanity's strength was not ephemeral but enduring, rooted in intellect, foresight, and an unwavering moral compass. On Earth, Mingqiang addressed the Galactic Council, her words measured and deliberate. The Zoltrians attacked expecting chaos and fear, but they encountered strategy, unity, and calm discipline. Humanity has proven that even after 4,000 years of peace, when faced with war, we remain unshaken. Our strength lies not in anger, but in intelligence and principle. Let all civilizations understand this. Humans act decisively, but wisely. We protect our people and our allies, and we do not flinch. In the command centers across the galaxy, fleet leaders like Jun-Su, Sobin, Hygiene, Heian, Min-Seo, Sunmi, Mingqiang, Sukjin, and Hyojin surveyed the aftermath of the battles, witnessing the remnants of Zoltrian forces retreating in disorder, and felt a quiet pride in the flawless execution of human strategy, the protection of countless lives, and the demonstration of their species' unshakable resolve. From orbital platforms to planetary command centers, humans worked tirelessly to rebuild, reinforce, and ensure that the lessons of the conflict were integrated into future training, strategy, and preparedness, understanding that the galaxy had witnessed not only their power but their calm intelligence and moral clarity. And as the stars above the recovered colonies sparkled in the night, human fleets returned to patrol and watch, not out of vengeance, but out of vigilance, proving once and for all that humanity, after 4,000 years of peace and a sudden declaration of war, had not only survived, but had emerged stronger, wiser, and unshakable in their courage, intelligence, and unity, leaving the Zoltrians and all observing civilizations with an undeniable truth. Humans do not flinch, humans do not panic, and when challenged, humanity stands unwavering, prepared, and overwhelmingly powerful in ways no one could fully comprehend.